Whispers in empty ward. The hospital stood silent in the dead of night, its corridors illuminated by the cold, sterile glow of fluorescent lights. The building was a labyrinth of white walls and hushed whispers, a place of healing that held secrets of its own. Emily, a young nurse on the night shift, had heard the rumors, tales of strange occurrences that took place when the sun set and the world outside grew dark. It was on a particularly stormy evening that Emily found herself assigned to the abandoned West Wing, a section of the hospital that had been closed off for years. As she navigated the maze, like hallways, the flickering lights cast eerie shadows on the walls. She pushed open the heavy door leading to the West Wing, its rusty hinges groaning in protest. The atmosphere inside was heavy, as if the air itself held forgotten stories. Emily's footsteps echoed through the desolate ward, her heart racing as a sense of unease settled over her. She reminded herself that it was just superstition. The tales of hauntings were nothing more than products of overactive imaginations. She began her rounds, checking the empty patient rooms one by one. The pale light spilled in through the windows, casting elongated shadows that danced along the walls like specters. Emily couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, and she quickened her pace, eager to finish her tasks and return to the safety of the well-lit corridors. As she entered the last room, a faint whisper reached her ears. It was so subtle that she couldn't make out the words, but it sent a shiver down her spine. She glanced around, finding nothing out of the ordinary. Chiding herself for her nerves, she focused on her duties, checking the equipment and ensuring that everything was in order. But the whispers persisted, growing in intensity as Emily moved down the corridor. They seemed to be coming from the walls themselves, as if the very structure of the building held secrets that were finally unraveling. Each room she entered echoed with the faint murmurings, as if 1,000 voices were speaking in hushed tone. An inexplicable urge compelled her to follow the whispers, to trace their source. She moved deeper into the West Wing, the air growing colder with each step. The corridor seemed to stretch endlessly, the doors appearing identical in their uniformity. Emily's flashlight beam flickered, casting fleeting glimpses of the abandoned rooms. And then she saw it. A door slightly ajar, light spilling out into the darkness. The whispers seemed to emanate from within, pulling her closer like a moth to a flame. Swallowing her fear, she pushed the door open, revealing a room bathed in an ethereal blue light. Before her stood a figure, its form indistinct and wavering like a mirage. Emily's heart raced as she tried to comprehend what she was seeing. A patient, perhaps, but the figure was transparent, its features a blur of shadow and light.
Who are you?
The figure remained silent, its presence both calming and unnerving. It reached out a spectral hand, as if beckoning her forward. Emily's instincts told her to run, to flee from this unearthly encounter, but something held her in place. As she stepped closer, the whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices that filled her mind. Memories flooded her consciousness. The laughter of children, the murmurs of patients, the cries of pain. She felt as if she was connecting with the countless souls that had passed through these walls, their stories woven into the very fabric of the hospital. A vision flashed before her eyes. A nurse tending to a patient in the same room, a scene from decades ago. The figure before her was that of a nurse, trapped between realms, yearning to be heard and acknowledged. With a surge of courage, Emily reached out, her hand passing through the figure's translucent form. A rush of emotions flooded her, sadness, longing, and a sense of release. The whispers began to fade, their stories finally finding a listener. And then, in an instant, the room was empty, the blue light dissipating into the darkness. The whispers were gone, replaced by a deep and profound stillness. Emily stood alone in the room, her heart heavy with a mix of wonder and sadness. She knew that she had experienced something extraordinary, something that defied explanation. As she left the West Wing, she couldn't help but glance back one last time, wondering if the spirits of the hospital were finally at peace. The corridors were quiet again, the whispers silenced. The hospital would continue its endless cycle of healing and caring, its walls holding the memories of those who had passed through its door. And perhaps on some nights, the echoes of those stories would become whispers carried on the wind that rustled through the empty ward.